My husband, George, got my friend Rachel pregnant. Why are you looking at me like that? Rachel asked. It's your fault that you're infertile, she said to me. If you want money from me, I can give you $20,000. Will that be enough? Don't come after me just because you're lonely, that would be really annoying. Sorry I took George away from you, we're going to be happy now, you should congratulate us. Rachel smiled and patted her growing belly. As I looked at her big belly, I thought, something doesn't feel right. After thinking for a while, I said, I get it now. What's going on with you? Rachel asked. I smiled to myself because I realized what was really happening. My name is Diana, I live with my husband, George, in a rental apartment. We met at my old job. Even though we worked in different departments, we ended up sitting next to each other at a company party. George is kind and friendly, so I liked him, and he liked me back. We started dating, had some arguments, but after 2 years, we got married. We've been married for 3 years now, but we don't have kids. It's not that we don't want children, we both love the idea of having kids, we talked about it a lot, and we both wanted to start a family. I quit my job to become a housewife, but we still couldn't get pregnant. I knew that having a baby isn't always easy, but it was hard for me when I couldn't get pregnant after trying. It started to wear me down emotionally. On top of that, my mother-in-law, Emily, lives nearby. She would show up at my house uninvited every day, pressuring me to have children. At first, I thought she was a caring mother-in-law, but over time, she became very pushy about me getting pregnant. She would also take my things without asking, complain about the meals I made, and criticize me all the time. One day, she took all my jewelry, bags, and clothes, saying she was helping me clean up. Emily, those are my things, I'm still using them, so please don't take them without asking. What are you talking about? You don't even do your duties as a wife. Aren't you ashamed of buying all these fancy things? I'll use them for you, so be thankful. I feel sorry for George. He was tricked into marrying someone like you. You can't get pregnant, so you're not a good wife. Just leave him and get out of our lives. No matter what I said, Emily wouldn't listen. George didn't stop her and even seemed to agree with her. I wasn't just sitting around doing nothing while they pressured me. I saw a doctor multiple times, and there was nothing wrong with me. I thought maybe something was wrong with George, but he refused to get tested. He believed what his mom said, that infertility was a woman's problem, so things didn't improve. Then, one day, George came home looking serious and told me to sit down. Diana, I need to tell you something, please listen to me. Why are you acting like this all of a sudden? I was going to make dinner, does it have to be now? He stopped me before I could head to the kitchen, and he made me sit on the couch. He sat on the floor across from me. After a few seconds of silence, he spoke. Actually, Rachel is pregnant, please break up with me. If you want money, I can give you $20,000. I'm sure you'll understand. Diana, I've always wanted a child, and like my mom said, I don't want a wife who can't have kids. I couldn't understand what he was saying. All I could say was, huh? I was so shocked, and George repeated himself. So, I'm going to have a baby with Rachel, because you couldn't get pregnant. I feel bad about having a baby with someone else while we're still married, but it is what it is. I'll give you alimony, but you have to know it's all your fault. Diana, if you had gotten pregnant, none of this would have happened. No matter how many times he said it, I couldn't understand what was going on. Is he really an adult? Where did the gentle George the first fell in love with go? I had a headache from everything he was saying, and I finally asked the one question that was bothering me the most. Who's the other girl? How long has this been going on? I asked, feeling confused and hurt. It's Rachel, you know her, she was your old coworker. When I told her you were having trouble getting pregnant, she offered to help, George answered casually, without showing any emotion. Rachel and I started at the company at the same time, and we got along well. She even came to our wedding, and it was Rachel who encouraged me to date you when I wasn't sure if I should, he continued. I was overwhelmed by the betrayal, feeling like everything was falling apart. The doctor said Rachel's having a boy. I'm so excited, I can't wait to play catch and go camping with him when he's older. This is my dream coming true, George said happily, ignoring how hurt I was. Does your mom know about this? I asked, still in shock. He nodded. Of course, I already told her. She's so happy to finally have a grandchild. I'm also getting ready to move in with Rachel. Once you and I divorce, we're moving in together. It seemed like they were already planning as if I would just agree to the divorce. Just then, The doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone, but George hurried to answer it, saying, "Oh, she's here." When he came back, Rachel was right behind him. Rachel was holding onto George's arm, smiling and laughing. "Sorry, Diana, for getting pregnant. George really wanted a child, so I decided to help him. I heard from George that you can't get pregnant, right? Well, that's not your fault, but it's your problem, Diana." Rachel said this while lovingly patting her big belly. "Are you sure the baby in your belly is really George's?" I asked, feeling suspicious. Rachel's nostrils flared as she responded loudly, "Of course, yes, this baby is mine and George's. Don't be sarcastic just because you couldn't get pregnant." Rachel seemed a little uneasy as she said this, but she quickly added, "Yes, it's George's and my baby." "I can't believe you even doubted me," she added. I thought to myself, if that's how it is, then I'll accept the divorce. So, I hired a lawyer and filed for alimony from both of them. Thanks to the lawyer, I was able to get over $20,000 in alimony, and the divorce was finalized quickly. I decided to move back to my parents' house, because I didn't want to be near George and his family. I was confident that the truth would come out soon. A year passed. I found a job after moving back to my parents' house and started living a peaceful life. Over time, I stopped thinking about all the terrible things that happened. One day, I got home from work around 7 p.m. and saw someone hanging around in front of my house. Who could it be? I wondered. As I got closer, they noticed me and called out to me. "Oh, Diana, where were you? I've been waiting for you." It was George and his mother, looking suspicious. They had come without any notice and seemed like they were causing trouble. "What are you two doing here? We're divorced, so we don't have anything to do with each other anymore." I tried to get past them to go inside, but they grabbed my arm to stop me. "What's with your attitude? We came all the way here, so I'm not leaving until you listen to me." George started telling me what happened after the divorce. He complained a lot, but to sum it up, he said Rachel had deceived him. At first, Rachel had been helpful to George and his mother, doing housework and taking care of Emily, but after the baby was born, Rachel changed. She stopped helping with the housework, started shopping online all day, and only took care of the baby when she felt like it. Then there was a problem with the baby. The child didn't look like George at all. Emily got suspicious and secretly had a DNA test done, and it turned out the baby wasn't George's. When George asked Rachel about it, she took the baby and left the next night. "I understand what happened, but what does that have to do with me? You said I'm an unfit wife because I couldn't get pregnant, right?" I said. "Are you still thinking about that? Let's start over. Mom's getting older and it's hard for her to do everything. I quit my job and only work part-time, so we're struggling financially. We're divorced, but we were once a family, so let's help each other out," George said. Apparently, when we got divorced, I had sent a letter to his company about what happened, and it caused rumors, which led to him leaving his job. So now, these two were trying to get me to support them financially. I was shocked and silent, but Emily took advantage of the situation and spoke up. "If you're back at your parents' house, you haven't remarried, have you? No one will marry someone like you, except for my son George. Now, pack your things and come with us." It was clear that Emily still thought I was unfit as a wife and was trying to take advantage of me. I thought, it's time to end this. "I see, so that's what happened, but wait, you haven't apologized to me. If you get down on your knees and apologize, maybe I'll think about getting back together," I said. George and Emily were both surprised. Emily yelled, "Why should I apologize to you?" But George stopped her. He seemed to realize that this time, he should apologize. He pulled Emily's arm, knelt down, and bowed his head. Emily reluctantly followed and knelt down too. "I'm sorry, please come back. Let's start over. I'm sorry for saying awful things," George said, looking up at me. "Okay, both of you can look up now." They both thought I was going to get back together with George, and Emily smiled when she saw me agreeing. "Well then, let's get back together," George said, but I crossed my arms and pretended to think about it. I've thought about it, but I still don't want to get back with you. It's too bad you both had to apologize to the person you looked down on. You two should just stay together, that's what you deserve," I said. George and Emily were shocked. Their faces turned bright red with embarrassment and anger. I can't believe you tricked us," Emily shouted. "Enough, you're the ones who've done enough. No matter what you say, I'm not getting back with you," I replied, and Emily stepped back. looking scared. Just then, two police officers arrived. Apparently, a neighbor saw me being harassed and called them. George and Emily tried to explain, but in the end, they were taken away by the police. After that, they never came to my parents' house again. Rumors said that Rachel's whereabouts were unknown, and George and Emily were struggling financially because they had to pay for the things Rachel bought with George's credit card. They sold their house and were living on George's low-paying job and Emily's part-time work. I later found out where Rachel was. A former co-worker of mine saw Rachel in town. She looked tired, and her face was drawn. She was pushing her son in a stroller with large luggage. I didn't care what happened to Rachel, but I hoped her child was okay. George called me once, and I answered, following my lawyer's advice to not block his calls. "Oh, Diana, it's been a long time. I wanted to tell you something," he said. "We have nothing to talk about anymore," I replied. "Actually, I went to the clinic, and I found out that the reason you couldn't get pregnant was because something was wrong with me. I'm sorry for believing my mom instead of you. I was so stupid. I'm truly sorry," he said. "Even if you understand now, it's too late. Don't contact me again," I told him before hanging up. I wanted George to regret what he'd done to me for the rest of his life. It felt like everything was finally over. After that, I started dating a colleague at work. I told him I was divorced, and he didn't mind at all. We kept dating, and recently, he proposed to me. Of course, I said yes, and he had to transfer for work, so I moved with him to a distant town. This helped me cut ties with George and Emily for good. Now, I'm pregnant with our long-awaited child. Just as my doctor had said, there was nothing wrong with me. My husband is so happy, and he promised to take care of me and our child forever. I want to take care of my child and my husband forever. I'm excited for the happy life ahead of us.